two of our members with COTAD that's going to come up and just give you a brief overview of what we do as an organization. So go ahead and come on down, Christina and Stephanie.
Good morning. It is an absolute pleasure to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. I apologize, I'm going to have to leave a little early. I have a conversation that matters and a poster, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to work that out. I'm Christina Reyes-Smith. This is Stephanie Lancaster. I'm at Mud University of South Carolina down in Charleston, and Stephanie is at University of Tennessee in Memphis. So we are initiating a new project called COTAD Ed. Any educators in the room? Fabulous. So we
future educators.
Any future educators in the room?
All right.
Excellent. Yes. So we see a great need for connecting educators around workforce diversity and inclusion as well. So we launched at a dinner this past Wednesday. We've had the support of Neil Harbison and ACO and many of the leadership within AOTA as well. We have a couple different activities that are going to be coming up at the Education Summit. We're working on a 2-day workshop. Oh yeah. That will probably be more of a certificate program. We're working with Dr. Sabrina Salvant on that, the incoming director of ACO.
Yeah.
Very thrilled about that. We have a lot of resources for educators on our website, and we do plan to increase those. But we are going to start connecting with each other on Facebook and an email list. So did we bring? We didn't know. We're going to have a survey. We'll send out the link after this online. If you're interested in being a part of that connection, just give us your contact information. And it'll be separate but connected to COTAD. The other thing that we wanted to mention is we are proposing a special interest section on diversity affairs. Yay! So this idea actually came from one of the leaders of the special interest sections. And so today at the annual business meeting, we are going to pitch said idea, and we would love if you would be willing to come and be a part of that with us and steer with us. We think that there would be some power in the numbers as we provide that to our current leadership and future leadership as a recommendation. But thank you so much for your attention. Anything to add?
Just again, thank you for coming. There's so much to do in this area, and it doesn't matter your background or your position, whether you're an educator, whether you're a clinician, whether you're a student or otherwise. There's something to be done, and one little change in your corner of the world can make a big difference. So it can seem overwhelming and seem like one person or one small group, like in this room, might have our work cut out for us, and that's true, but that's not to say that one little thing, one day, won't make a difference. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
What time is the special interest business meeting so that we can be there?
What time is it? I believe it's at 11:30 in the large area, but I'll double check.
That's the annual.
Too long right now, so I actually have the honor and the pleasure of introducing our speaker this morning. So this is COTAD's 4th annual breakfast. So I have just a little bit written down. Dr. Lenin Grajo is a passionate educator who currently serves as assistant professor of rehab and regenerative medicine, as well as director of the post-professional doctor of occupational therapy program at Columbia University Medical Center. Woo-hoo! Dr. Grajo has contributed significantly to evidence-based practice within occupational therapy through his astounding research and numerous publications. Y'all should see the list, guys. It's awesome. He can be described as a gem to the profession, and his extensive work around the occupation of reading has made a positive impact upon many children. So we're really excited that Dr. Grajo has taken time out of his schedule to be with us this morning to talk about diversity within our profession. And so without further ado, join me in welcoming Dr. Lenin Grajo.
Good morning, everyone. What a lovely day in Salt Lake City, and thank you so much for being here. 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not my best time of the day either, but I'm so deeply honored to be invited by the Coalition of Occupational Therapy Advocates for Diversity to to facilitate this conversation at such a remarkable and critical time in our profession. I want to preface this conversation first by starting with a disclaimer. I am an eternal optimist. So when there are threats and challenges, I try to see the opportunity. And when the days seem gloomy, I find brightness, or I wear floral. So I want to start this conversation with a challenge, but also with a very positive note. There is so much that we all need to do to promote diversity in our profession. And today is a beautiful day to continue the work or to get that work started. So I promise I will get you started at the end of this presentation. In a very informative text titled "In the Nation's Compelling Interest, Ensuring Diversity in the Healthcare Workforce," the book opens with a challenge and a quote from Goethe: "Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do." In this presentation, I want to highlight the notion of collective responsibility. In psychology and sociology, the term collective responsibility has a slightly negative connotation. It is defined as an action as a result of guilt or knowing that one has not done enough. But I told you I'm an eternal optimist, so I will use the more generic definition of collective responsibility. That is, all of us, big and small, macro and micro, have a responsibility to act, to do, and to address this critical issue. We need to work on increasing and sustaining the diversity of our beloved profession. All of us, not just AOTA, not just COTAD, not just our deans, chairs, and directors, not just our employers, all of us. Threats. What a start. Don't worry, I promise I will remain optimistic. Many interrelated factors can be seen as challenges in the diversity of the occupational therapy profession. National factors threaten social justice and equality every day. They rather than we. Them rather than us. But regardless of your politics and ideological beliefs, we must all admit that occupational therapy is founded by a radical notion that doing, being able to participate in the daily activities that bring meaning and purpose to our life, influences our health, well-being, and adaptation. This very notion of social and occupational justice is indeed radical, that whoever you are, wherever you came from, occupation is a human right, and we must promote this for everyone. There are also many factors within our national and professional association that may challenge diversity. I'm going to bring that big elephant lurking in the room, the OTD mandate.
Yes.
The OTA bachelor's mandate in abeyance. The need to more strongly articulate a focus on promotion of diversity in our association documents. The need to better articulate and fight for the distinct value and participation of occupational therapy assistants in many facets of practice in our profession. But regardless of where you stand, what your stand is on the OTD mandate and the OTA mandate in abeyance and other issues mentioned, we all have so much to do. Personal factors, our own personal beliefs, implicit biases, the way we communicate, especially in the social media world we have today. The promotion of diversity is not only about having a diverse workforce, it is also about embracing the beauty that we all do not need to think the same way, look the same way, believe in perspectives in the same way. There is profound beauty in that, and we need better ways of embracing all of this. Numbers, I love numbers. Let's look at some statistics of the ethnicity diversity from 3 different data points for both the OTA and OT demographics. I contacted NBCOT earlier this month for the latest practice analysis study. A 2018 practice analysis will be published later this month. The 2012 practice analysis data included 2,800 new certificates within their first 3 years. Juxtaposed to this are two other data points: the 2015 Data USA report and the 2017 Bureau of Labor Statistics report. Data USA is a team of economists, data scientists, engineers, and researchers who analyze and compile data from several US government agencies. BLS, as we know, works within the Labor Department to track market data and working conditions across multiple sectors. Factoring margins of measurement error, you will see that the data across 3 time points and 3 sources are actually quite comparable, with bigger varying differences in statistics of Asian and African American OTs. Unfortunately, not much available data is reported for OTAs, but based on the NBCOT practice analysis survey alone, our OTAs seem to have slightly better diversity than the OTs. We must protect this. As scientists, many of us can argue and analyze these statistics all day long. But one of the biggest points I want to raise in this discussion today is that if we want these numbers changed, we have to start addressing diversity from the sector that produces these statistics. Diversity promotion starts in our professional educational programs. So again, just by a show of hands, I want a quick glance of our audience composition. How many are full-time clinicians? Great. OTRs, COTAs, students, faculty, any program directors, deans, or clinical administrators. Thank you. We have such a great diverse group. First, I want to highlight the initiatives within our profession. COTAD has done truly amazing work in the past recent years. How about a big round of applause for COTAD? The Minority Mentorship Program is designed to support underrepresented occupational therapy students, new practitioners, and prospective students. Volunteers and advocates are involved in helping COTAD with various projects and initiatives, which also include a variety of presentations at AOTA conference. As you have heard, COTAD is also now partnering with student OT associations, establishing chapters with OT and OTA programs, and more recently they have launched COTAD Ed, a project to support and promote a lot of projects, including holistic admissions process in our professional programs. Also last week, if you haven't read, COTAD has released its official statement and recommendations to promote diversity in OT as a result of the OTD mandate. If you have not seen the statement, visit cotad.org or visit their Facebook page. Like I've said, there's still so much work to do. A simple search of published studies on effectiveness of diversity efforts within our educational programs in OT and OTA programs are still underexplored. AOTA Vision 2025. There's a lot of opportunities there. Some are missed, and some we need to really work on. So as we continue to develop the body of knowledge about diversity promotion in OT, let us take a look at some valuable lessons from our peers. There have been many statistics brought up and raised on social media recently about statistics in medicine, nursing, and physical therapy. If you have not seen this conversation on Facebook, oh dear, you are missing the color and brightness that's going on in the internet airwaves. Instead of just showing you more numbers, I promise there will be 2 more slides of numbers, I want to highlight the actual initiatives from our other healthcare peers. First, medical education. The executive report by the Council of Graduate Medical Education based on a task force on supporting diversity in the health professions came up with 2 strong recommendations, and I think we need to follow lead. First, they said investments should be made in the longitudinal evaluation of health professions training for diversity programs. Second, they said that an evidence base should be developed to understand which programs are the most effective in supporting diversity in the health professions. From the CGME report, I quote, "Greater diversity in the health workforce is critical to improve healthcare delivery for an increasingly diverse population. Investments in health professions training for diversity programs are critical for achieving diversity in the workforce and should be continued. However, there are significant evidence gaps for the effectiveness of these programs, such as data on graduation rates that limit the ability of policymakers and educators to match interventions with community needs, determine appropriate investments in programs, and maximize very limited resources. Quantitative data, they said, should be obtained to document success rates and allow year-to-year comparisons of the effectiveness of each program. We are not there yet." More numbers. I promise this is the last two slides with a table of numbers. This data was tracked by the Council of Graduate Medical Education in the University of Washington Center for Health Workforce Studies, published in 2015 and 2016, tracked from data points from 2004 and 2013. The data shows that in the past 9 years, considering margin of errors, there has been a reduced percentage of African Americans and mixed race ethnicities in OTRs, and a considerable decrease in Asians, Pacific Islanders, and Hispanics in OT assistants and aides. Take note as well of the big increases in the percentage of whites in the demographics of OT assistants and aides. Last table of numbers. This has been posted, reposted, reanalyzed, and interpreted in so many ways on social media recently. Let's take a look at physical therapy. There has been great discussion about how to analyze the demographic trends for physical therapists as a result of the Doctor of Physical Therapy mandate in 2015. Some argue that their diversity has not changed or have even rather increased as a result of the DPT. I would like to put a big caution in the analysis of that trend. Like medical education, both the American Physical Therapy Association and the American Council of Academic Physical Therapy have launched diversity task groups that have made a system-wide analysis of factors and trends affecting their diversity. We have not done this at all in OT, and critical decisions have already been made. I would like to share with you some recommendations from the ACAPT Diversity Task Force. The ACAPT Diversity Task Force assertively made an 8-point recommendation to increase diversity in physical therapy education. First, strategic promotion of PT as a program of choice for underrepresented minorities. Second, development of resources to mentor pre-DPT students. 3, development of a new task force for a pre-DPT admission structure to simplify and standardize their prerequisites. 4th, development of resources for holistic admissions processes. 5th, advocate for greater financial assistance for all DPT students. 6, improving the PT-CAS system to identify applicants from medically underserved areas. This is their application portal. 7, mentoring network in collaboration with student associations. And last, the development of faculty and clinical residencies for underrepresented minority graduates from historically Black colleges and universities and Hispanic serving institutions. If there's one lesson that can be gleaned from both the ACAPT and CGME reports, is that a system-wide analysis of diversity trends across different sectors of the profession is imperative. I call on our leaders at AOTA to do the same. From statistics, more numbers, to recommendations, I now want to highlight evidence-based programs gleaned from multiple data sources. The sources of some of these efforts are the University of Washington Health Workforce Studies Facilitating Racial and Ethnic Diversity Task Force, published in 2015, and a 2015 recommendation report from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Committee on Minority Health. From the Department of Health and Human Services, 4 principles on developing a diverse workforce. They said that the development of a healthcare workforce that is representative and reflective of the communities served is vital for healthcare reform to achieve its potential to serve a diverse and growing minority population and to create an affordable and sustainable healthcare system that produces positive health outcomes. Second principle, healthcare professional schools must be affordable and must reflect the diverse communities that they serve. Their curricula must promote a trans, multidisciplinary, team-oriented, and community-responsive approach to teaching, training, mentoring, and matriculating to ensure the availability of healthcare providers necessary to implement comprehensive healthcare reform. Third principle, the development of diverse executive leadership and governance bodies of the healthcare system, as well as a diversity of faculty and leadership in K through 16 and healthcare professional schools are essential for implementing effective healthcare reform that meets the needs of a diverse minority population and works towards eliminating health disparities and health inequities. Last principle, accrediting and licensing agencies should include strong and robust requirements, benchmarks, and oversight processes for ensuring the provision of patient-centered, culturally and linguistically sensitive competent training and care in healthcare settings. This includes, at a minimum, meeting the national standards on culturally and linguistically appropriate services, and these benchmarks must ensure a diverse healthcare workforce, including diverse executive leadership and governance. Now let us look at some diversity programs that evidence tells us work. First, holistic admissions processes. We have heard of COTAD-Ed's initiative to work with professional programs to promote holistic admissions process. Holistic admissions must include the deliberate recruitment of underrepresented minorities. Many OT programs are now putting lesser weight on just the cognitive aspects of an applicant's packet to include non-cognitive sections that look at leadership abilities, emotional intelligence, and community involvement. Raise your hand if your program already is doing this. Great. Recently, we have seen increased promotion about what is occupational therapy, and those are all great. I think, though, it is time to expand our promotion and marketing efforts to create a massive promotional campaign shifting from what is OT to why a career in OT, targeting diverse groups to include not only the current areas of practice, but also emerging areas of practice, such as occupational therapy for LGBTQ older adults, OT for bullying, OT in primary care in diverse communities, OT in prison programs, OT in functional cognition and literacy in diverse communities. Second, evidence from dentistry and medicine show that summer enrichment programs that provide preparatory coursework can give an overview of the coursework and includes socialization with current faculty and students from underrepresented minority groups, truly help prepare, inspire, and encourage underrepresented minority students to pursue their fields. Are there any programs here doing summer enrichment preparatory programs? We need to start adopting those. Third, evidence from medicine, dentistry, and nursing show that curricular revisions, especially adding coursework on developing programs for underserved communities and actual courses on health disparities, have helped underrepresented minorities make decisions about which programs they want to apply to. In occupational therapy, there's a lot of opportunities to include courses on health disparities. Any programs here with health disparity courses? Fabulous. And especially on social and occupational justice. Yesterday, I had the privilege of co-presenting with an outstanding panel of educators from the University of Texas San Antonio Health, Maryville University, Duquesne, St. Louis University, the Occupational Therapy Assistant Program at Herzing University, who have infused their curriculum with occupational justice themes as threaded within the program philosophy, as a standalone OT and OTA course, as preparatory course for fieldwork, and in my program at Columbia University, threaded within a community-based grant writing course. Think about that, and think about how powerful it can potentially be if as many programs now moving towards the doctoral level, and as students plan and develop their capstone and doctoral experiential activities focusing on social and occupational justice. There's a lot of opportunities there. Lastly, we know that mentorship programs work. We must target not only to mentor students, but mentor clinicians and faculty as well. Academy Health, a private organization that works on advancing health services research and policy, have found that to make mentoring programs impactful, it must have components of socialization and networking and development of diversity promotion strategies. Targeted faculty mentoring programs work. As chairperson of the Academic Education Special Interest Section Council of AOTA, the very first program I developed at the start of my tenure is a mentorship program for new educators and new academic fieldwork coordinators. While those programs do not focus necessarily on just underrepresented minorities, we have ensured that in the recruitment process, we must include faculty from different geographical regions, university affiliations, and most especially to include educators in OTA programs. We are starting our third cycle in the fall. We are recruiting in the summer. So if you have new faculty, new educators, new academic fieldwork coordinators, watch out for that email blast. We have just concluded the second cycle of the program, and to date, we have mentored 55 new faculty and new fieldwork coordinators, paired with over 45 seasoned mentors, and we are launching our third cycle this fall, and people say that it has been very helpful. Those of you who are students and those working in academia, I encourage you to carefully, every day, examine the diversity makeup of your classes and your faculty. Again, there's so much work we need to do on that front. Let us now bring this home. What can we do, big and small, in our programs, in our clinics, within ourselves? How can we join this collective responsibility? First, let us build capacity. Let us build the capacity of our profession so it becomes more diverse. Let us build the capacity of our students so they are more culturally sensitive, culturally humble, and culturally responsive. Let us build the faculty capacity, especially our minority faculty. One of the most effective ways to build capacity is through communities of practice. First developed by Etienne Wenger, communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern, a set of problems, or a passion about a topic. The aim of communities of practice are to create, expand, and exchange knowledge, and to develop individual capabilities. Mentorship programs, the ones we have now, the ones led by programs like COTAD, can also be formed using a community of practice framework. Linked by a common sense of purpose and action, members of communities of practice co-create, my Columbia people know that that's one of my favorite words, co-create resources, develop new knowledge, and continuously collaborate towards that shared purpose. How does one implement a community of practice? Here is just one sample structure. It can include monthly conference calls or in-person meetings, a discussion of research, readings, and helpful resources, facilitated discussions on topics of concern chosen and facilitated by members of the community rather than just chosen or facilitated by the leaders of the community. A shared generation of resources, development of infographics, action items, publications, community outreach, etc. We also need to measure the impact and change of communities of practice, and members can then become group leaders and facilitators of communities of practice in their area of practice or locality. I've been involved in several communities of practice and have published about communities of practice, so I really encourage you to explore this framework. The key to communities of practice is shared leadership. Every member in that community is a leader. Every member is an agent of change rather than just a recipient of mentorship. I encourage COTAD to consider a community of practice framework and continue to measure the effectiveness of its programs. I encourage all of you to explore communities of practice through the restructured special interest sections of AOTA. It is currently in its pilot stages, but it will be open for new proposals soon. So apart from just a special interest section on diversity, also consider a community of practice on diversity promotion at all levels. Some potential topics that can be woven in on a community of practice include mentoring current underrepresented minorities and international students and new practitioners, mentoring new underrepresented minorities, and developing a diversity research agenda with specific action steps. Next, let's examine our clinical practices and practice settings. It is very important that we also mentor not only underrepresented minorities, but internationally trained and licensed clinicians as well. This subject is near and dear to my heart. Almost 9 years ago, I left my beautiful country, the Philippines, my family, a beautiful career, colleagues and friends to embark on a new adventure here in the United States. While I have some relatives, I was on my own, starting a new exciting journey in a profession where I knew no one. In 2010, I got a job at a small pediatric clinic in Austin, Texas. They took a chance on me. A relatively young, naive, and newly certified to practice OT in the US. From there, I moved to my first academic appointment in the United States at St. Louis University. They also took a chance on me. They mentored me, and have developed lifelong friends. From there, the next big move that I made was to move to New York City, where I met the most outstanding group of colleagues, friends, and mentors at Columbia. I am here today because all of them mentored me. They took a chance on me. I encourage you to do the same. We are all hungry to learn. We work hard. We have passion. And many of us are doing this so we can help family back home, help send our brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, the children of our neighbors and family and friends to school. We bring diversity in perspective, diversity in practice, and cultural flair and flavor to all that we do. The increasing academic standards has made it very difficult for many of us, talented and well-trained but bachelor's-trained occupational therapists from many countries to work in the United States. So when you get the chance, take a risk, mentor them, encourage them as they pursue advanced degrees, and help them as much as you can. I will not be here today if not because of all of them. Next, we need to build not only programs, but determine the science that make diversity efforts work. We need to do more research on factors that influence diversity in OT and OTA programs, and how those can be sustained in clinical practice. but these research take time and a lot of resources. So I advocate and encourage us to take a look at profession-wide resources so we could do more and we could ask AOTA for more resources. The Education Research Agenda, published in the American Journal of Occupational Therapy in 2014, barely included the need to increase diversity through the education pipeline. We are changing this. Just last week, I moved to have the Commission on Education of AOTA to review and revise the Education Research Agenda to include and prioritize diversity and inclusive education to be part of this Education Research Agenda. A subcommittee has been formed, and I am leading this process. I also encourage and request the American Occupational Therapy Foundation to include educational science as a funding priority in its intervention research grant funding. After all, education is an intervention. Our outcomes are all of you, all of us, who now successfully practice occupational therapy. Funding for educational science can help us educators devote time and resources for a system-wide study of diversity, effective diversity programs, and all various efforts. We need a united diversity research agenda. We need to better and more widely analyze the student body diversity in programs that have already transitioned to the OTD. We should be collecting that data. We need to study the effectiveness of intentional and targeted mentorship programs for underrepresented minorities and LGBTQ students. We need to build critical mass in targeted diversity initiatives in OT and OTA programs. We also need to study effectiveness of mentorship programs for underrepresented minorities and LGBTQ students. This is our board of directors at AOTA. I have so much respect for these amazing leaders. Many of them are my friends and great colleagues of mine. But I encourage all of us to develop new leaders. Let us give underrepresented minorities other role models. Let us continue to develop and elect a diverse group of leaders. Let us promote the professional development of new and diverse leaders. COTAD was born out of leaders from the American OT Association Emerging Leaders Program. Let us continue this initiative. Let's develop more leaders from underrepresented minorities. Let us develop our own leadership skills. This is a time of change, a critical time to let our voices heard. Make your voices heard. An important time for equality, social justice, and diversity. We need to do something today. In lieu of questions and answers, I want to now open this for a facilitated discussion. There are handouts on your tables, and I want you to get one each, please. And I want us to devote just about 5 minutes to reflect and to think about what we can do, big and small steps to make our profession more inclusive and diverse. Today, we will plant new seeds, and it will start with a pledge from all of you to start acting today to help with our collective responsibility. So let's spend just a few minutes to write our pledges down, and then I would love to hear from all of you. Thank you.